What was the fastest way you've seen someone ruin their life? Couple of guys in my hometown were looking for something to steal so they could sell it to buy drugs. They come to a house where no one was supposed to be home, and one guy gets out of the car and goes to the house to steal a grill. A friend of the homeowner happened to be there and came out. When he stepped onto the porch, he tells a friend that he is looking for his dog, so the guy walks out into the yard to help look for it. The would-be robber panics and pulls out a gun and shoots the man in the back of the head. At 21 he started a life sentence for a really stupid murder. Huffing paint. My college buddy was an affable stoner type who liked psychedelics, weed, and drinking. He was broke, so he got into huffing paint over the summer. He passed out with a plastic bag full of spray paint over his face and ended up depriving his brain of oxygen and is now mentally disabled due to brain damage. Like drooling, slurring, can't tie his own shoes or perform basic life tasks, level disabled. A group of boys at my high school did that after school. They huffed, got in a truck, and left school. The driver passed out at the red light at the closest intersection, went through the red light, and hit another car. The driver died, another passenger in his truck was killed, and the driver of the other car he hit was killed. The 3 other passengers in the driver's truck also had serious injuries. The other driver was a young mother and the aunt/guardian of another student who had lost his parents earlier in life. It was so tragically stupid. Saw a guy slide down a stair rail and fall backwards 12 feet onto a concrete floor. Died at the hospital less than 24 hours later. From college student to dust in less than a day. Pretty quick. Guy from my school went to rob a corner shop at knife point. He pulled up with his push bike, went into the store, and threatened the shopkeeper with a knife to give him all the money in the register. The shopkeeper refused, and the robber was too posse to do anything, so he grabbed a pack of gum and ran out. 20 minutes later the robber realized he left his bike behind in his panic, so he went back to get it. This was at the same time the police were questioning the shopkeeper on the incident. They swiftly arrested him there and then. Think he got 2 years for stealing gum at knife point. In less than 5 years, one of my cousins was married twice to 2 equally horrible people and blew through 2 inheritances. He and his first wife trashed a house my grandmother let them live in for free and got mad when she asked him to pay for repairs. He is now completely alienated from family, including his parents, and disowned. My half-brother decided it was a good idea to try and rob the restaurant he worked at. Didn't wear a mask or try to hide his voice in any way. At the time, he was hopelessly addicted to crack, so he obviously wasn't thinking straight when he convinced his dealer's GF to help him out. She secured a gun for him, and he was dumb enough or desperate enough not to check it and didn't realize it was a BB gun. They did manage to get out of the restaurant with $7,000, but the dealer and his very large friends were waiting for them. When they came out, they beat the crap out of him, took the money, and left him unconscious for the police. He got 7 years in prison for armed robbery and grand larceny. He did manage to kick his drug habit in prison though. This happened to my brother. He's walking home, and his buddy pulls up in a new car and asks if he wants to go for a ride. He gets in, and they pull into the gas station and the guy said he had to go in and pay. My brother is sitting there when multiple police cars pull in and surround the car, guns drawn. The friend had stolen the car and robbed the gas station and went out the back. Took 15 minutes. Took months to convince the police he was innocent. Kid I went to high school with used to break into homes in his neighborhood to steal phones with his younger brother. They always did seem to have a couple of screws loose, but never thought they were capable of hurting anyone. Then one night they robbed the wrong house. As they were sneaking into the kitchen, the owner of the house came in for a late night glass of water and caught them in the act. Unlucky for them, he also was a former Marine. They got into it, but one of the kids had a knife and started repeatedly stabbing the dude in the head. They ran off after that, but the next day they were arrested. One is still in juvie 5 years later. The other was sentenced to 30 years in state prison. Edit. Owner of the house is apparently still alive, but suffers from a lot of mental issues now. I saw a guy in the highway blow past me in a lifted truck doing about 120 to 130 miles per hour hit a concrete divider. He was being chased by a state trooper. I say, that was the fastest way I've seen someone ruin their life. Woo. I heard a lady in and South hit a motorcycle waiting in the left turn lane. Heard the crunch, and then saw the scene across a large intersection. She was texting, of course, and didn't even see him or slow down. He looked like a pile of rags about 30 feet from his bike, and she hit him so hard that his helmet came off. I don't know how he turned out, but vehicular homicide seemed a likely outcome for her. My sister and her husband started doing crack. Both lost their job. They lost their house. Moved across the country with their kids who hated them for their big duck-ups. Sister decides to get sober after getting a DUI. Husband kicks her out for it. She moves back with nothing but the clothes on her back and gets sober. Kids move out to be with her a year later. She gets her life in order and is now in the process of buying a house. Husband works now just to support a drug and alcohol habit while living in his mom's house. So even though she ruined her life pretty bad for a while, she managed to get her sheet back together. My dad's co-worker's brother was playing with a gun that he thought was empty. He pointed it at his friend's head and pulled the trigger, which killed him instantly. It wasn't empty, and he got about 10 years. One of my friends ordered crack from the dark web. Where I'm from, it's not something anybody ever really does. It's unheard of, really. Anyway. Fast forward 6 months and he's the most vile person you could ever meet. He dragged another friend down with him. He went from an engineer to stealing and backstabbing in about a month. Heartbreaking. Don't do crack. A few years back, one of the students attending the university I work at got caught trying to sneak a sheetload of drugs into a local nightclub. The first we found out about it was when some police officers turned up with a warrant to go through his room, and I was the lucky person chosen to go let them in. So I opened the door, and oh dear lord, there's drugs everywhere. If you've ever seen one of those old Timmy Pick and Mix shops with all the sweets in big glass jars, imagine that but with pills and wraps of powder instead. Everything else was all super neat and tidy, and it was one of the cleanest student rooms I'd ever been in. Just that every flat surface had a container full of drugs or some other sort of paraphernalia on it. This student was in his 4th year of master's degree, and due to finish in 3 months. He ended up being charged with possession with intent to supply, and since a lot of the stuff he had in there was class A, is now going to be in prison for a decade or 2. He was also expelled, of course, and will still be on the hook for £60k of student debt afterwards. Drunk driving. Guy crashed his car, ran from the scene, was tracked down, resisted arrest, assaulted a cop, blew way over, and in 2 hours went from kid to convict. Apostrophe. A guy I know decided one day he was going to rob someone. Now this guy has never owned a gun or anything, and never really was into robbing people. He just sold weed. So he decides to get a gun and go rob someone. He didn't test the waters, nothing. Just jumped right in. A few hours later he's arrested, and his bail is set at $70,000. He's awaiting trial currently, but his ass isn't getting out. Charges are robbery 1st degree, possession of stolen property under $1,000, possession of illegal firearm, possession of marijuana with intent to sell. Way to go, dude, you ducked up bad. Didn't even last a day on the run. Born again Christian teen met a druggie who got her into drugs, wound up pregnant, decided to get married as it was the right thing. Neither of them could hold down a job, and they had 6 more kids. Decided to find God again and move around doing ministry work while homeschooling their kids. Edit. The finding God was not a saving grace for them. It was the only way they could come up to care for their family. They are still doing drugs. Crystal meth over 5 months. My long ago neighbor had an Audi, crotch rocket, beautiful, classy home furnishings and a great job, only to end up with a folding chair and nothing else. Very sad to watch. He was a nice enough guy before the fall. Friend got married right after HS. Left for boot camp and deployed soon after. Gave his wife power of attorney. She destroyed his credit and put him $200k in debt in 8 months. They divorced, but his co-advised him to just give her whatever she wants to keep her quiet. So now he's also paying alimony. It sucks because he only joined the military to pay for college. But now he's afraid he won't be able to afford it even with a GI Bill. I once knew someone who swapped university courses midway through so that he could become a teacher in a subject he was more passionate about. We were pleased for him. He was really excited, and it all got off to a great start. He eventually completed his degree and qualified as a teacher in that subject. However, he is no longer a teacher. Why is that? Well, turns out he had sex with 2 underage students and verbally harassed them afterwards. There was a failed third attempt. He then fled to Italy for some reason. He has no connection there, a fake, to escape justice, eventually turned himself in, and was arrested when he arrived back in the UK. Just shy of 3 years in prison, although he was paroled at around the halfway mark. 10 years on the UK sex offender register with a supplementary sexual harm prevention order, SHPO, which controls his interaction with young people. Banned from teaching for life. Apparently that wasn't all. I heard other gossip about his behavior in the classroom, which was deeply troubling, but not criminal, so nothing was done. I have no idea what he does now. People have seen him, spoken to him, but he doesn't speak of what happened. No idea what he was thinking, or what he initially set out to achieve. Did he go into teaching so that he could do these things? Or did his mind somehow warp a bit later on? This kid at my school, university, just recently stole a pickup truck attached to a hot dog stand where everyone goes to for drunk food. Oh, yeah, he was drunk. He blew her, 18, and when asked while he did it, he said, "Because I'm a dumbass." That hedge fund manager a few months back that lost all of his clients' money, hundreds of millions, within a matter of days, I think. Girl I know drove some dude on a high-speed chase while he was shooting out the window. Happened 2 days ago on Los Angeles. My stepbrother got a tattoo of a Mudvayne album cover on his neck. Drop everything and all ambitions in his own life to try and help his girlfriend pursue hers. She lived overseas. It did not end well. Chief of anesthesia, 30-year marriage, kit, dealer in the driveway, secret bank account, hookers, meth, more hookers, bank account found, divorce, more hookers, teeth knocked out in strip club fight, felony meth conviction, lost job, lost license, lost their hookers, now parks cars at the airport.